Welcome to Aberdeen, Scotland, a syphilitic, damp little town, lovingly known as the UK's cum bucket. Your last stop before you're washed out to the treacherous North Sea, where 100-foot waves are known to pound down on you out of nowhere and rip you into pieces. And that's when the weather's good. So don't forget to pack your Speedo, greaseball. And being just offshore is the oil drilling capital of Europe means there's a brothel on every street corner and the perfect place to get your teeth kicked in every Friday night by horny Eastern Europeans on shore leave. But on the plus side, the pussy's reasonably priced and you get deep-fried Mars bars. Now meet 32-year-old Elijah and Henrietta Hushti, the 32-year-old twins, part of triplets. Nice. That's fucking nice. Originally from Hungary, they came to Scotland because, well, I don't know why they came to Scotland, but nevertheless, that's where they ended up. The two women from a close-knit family settled in Aberdeen and were happy and well-grounded, working as a cleaner and the other in a coffee shop. And by all accounts, nothing seemed irregular until late on a Thursday night, they knocked on their landlord's door and said they would no longer be needing their apartment for the immediate future. Then they smiled and walked away. The two women were later seen around 2:30 a.m. in the busy city center, walking towards the river. And after that, they disappeared like ghosts. Marginally attractive, maybe if I was drunk Hungarian ghosts. Police believe from available footage that the two women had crossed the bridge and then walked down a path by the river. And that was the last time they were ever seen again. Nearby CCTV footage that recorded audio is said to contain screams. But with other girls, available CCTV footage shows them laughing and joking. Neither of them had a history of mental illness, and neither of them used their phone or their bank cards since that night. And if they were planning to do something, why didn't they contact the family, who they were so close with? And to date, the police are baffled.
In this world, there are things that go beyond our understanding. Things that our tiny minds cannot possibly comprehend. Like where does reality end and dreams begin? Between the flick of a light switch and a dream,
we continually shroud ourselves in a veil of illusion.
It was in 1587 that a small group of English settlers succeeded and founded a small colony on Roanoke Island. This was intended to be England's first foothold into the Americas, where they would slay the godless savages and make the land their own. I'd like to slay this godless savage. But things didn't work out exactly that way. The settlement consisted of 125 men, women, and children. They were met by Algonquin Indians, who seemed pretty friendly enough, although they weren't wearing pants. And they often had boners, which offended many of the women. But I'm guessing secretly a few of them probably liked it. And being that these guys were English, they probably liked it as well, because the English, as we know, invented homosexuality. And if you don't believe me, check this out. What the fuck? Umbrellas are a general giveaway when it comes to being a homo. I wrote a whole book about it. Well, there you go, Chief. At least you're dry. But other than the Indian boners, the colony encountered other problems. First of all, they needed more supplies, and with the number now at 117, they felt they needed more people as well. So they sent their leader, John White, back to England to get both. But this wasn't as easy as you'd think. It took 3 years a round trip back to England, but either way he obliged, leaving behind his wife, his kids, and a granddaughter. When White returned 3 years later with the new colony members and supplies, he thought they'd be excited to see him waiting on the shore. But there was nothing. The colony had vanished. The first thing he thought were the savages running around with their fucking boners and whatnot, probably raping the women. Probably raped a few dudes as well, because they probably wanted it. But there was no sign of violence, and the Algonquin Indians were generally a peace-loving people. When they looked around the island, everything had been dismantled. There was no sign that the colony even existed. Even the second boat was missing, and that wouldn't have been able to carry all 115 people. The only clue they found was a cryptic message carved into a tree, Croatoan. But what did it mean? White believed that the colony may have relocated to a nearby island also called Croatoan. But when they went there was nothing, no sign that anybody had ever been there. Since then, there have been many theories about what had happened to the lost colony. One, they tried to return to England themselves in the ship and were sunk by a Spanish armada. They've been attacked and killed by Indians or succumbed to disease. Even they've been abducted by UFOs. But since no remains were ever found or there's no proof of any of these, it still remains a mystery. White returned to England, and 16 years later he died a broken man, never knowing what happened to his wife, his kids, and his granddaughter. And it haunted him till the end. And I guess what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke will remain a mystery forever. In New Orleans, Louisiana, between May 1918 and October 1919, there was a serial killer loose on the party town's bourbon-soaked streets. A serial killer with a certain proclivity for Italians, wops, dagos, or whatever derogative term you want to call them. I call them greaseballs. But whatever fun and creative name you want to give them, it wasn't safe to be one for a whole year. The perpetrator would usually enter the home with a chisel, unarmed, removing a back panel or opening a door, and walk in. And from there, he'd find either an axe or a straight razor in the home and kill the victims, usually while they slept. The crimes weren't motivated by robbery because nothing was ever taken, with the majority of the killer's victims being Italian immigrants. Newspapers at the time tried to promote the killer as a sexual sadist, but there was no proof of any sexual acts involved. A bizarre letter, believed to be from the Axeman, was sent to local newspapers that said that he would attack at midnight and he would spare anyone's home who was listening to jazz music. I wonder how he feels about Metallica. Either way, the Axeman took 6 lives and injured 6, and then disappeared into history, never to be seen again. And although many true crime novels of the day tried to come up with their own theories and suspects, most notably that it was a mafia hit, most of the victims had their throats cut in their sleep, and there were never any real suspects. And the only thing for sure was, whoever did it didn't like Italians. Sometimes doing the right thing, well, it ain't always doing the right thing. At least when it comes to you. Self-preservation often needs to be taken into consideration. Meet mother of 3, 28-year-old Karen Silkwood, a woman who is intent on doing the right thing, even if it killed her. She'd landed a plum job at a nuclear facility, finally a job where she could use her brain and she could also support her 3 kids. But a dream quickly became a nightmare when she saw they were cutting corners, potentially risking people's lives, including her own. She went to her bosses and she spoke up about the corners that were being cut. They ignored her. She was working side by side with people who would most certainly lose their lives because corners were being cut. Then she decided to go to her union representatives, and when that didn't work, she went to the papers. The only thing is that Karen had a big mouth, and she decided to tell people. She stole some documents, and that night went off-site to meet up with a reporter.
Her car ran off the road only 2 miles from the Kerr-McGee facility, and she died.
Her Honda was found in a culvert. Police and the Highway Patrol say she fell asleep at the wheel.
The week before that, it was determined that Karen had received an overexposure to plutonium. Alpha particles apparently penetrated her body.
Karen Silkwood was less than 10 minutes from the lab, on a clear road, no ice, no rain, and that they say she fell asleep. When cops got there, they said they found no files or papers in her car, although she had been planning to meet the New York Times that night, and she was bringing those files. So what happened? How'd she fall asleep only a couple of minutes from her work? How'd she lose all those files?
I have those people get plain plan. She was gonna quit. Come home. She was just trying to help.
Karen Silkwood's parents would spend the rest of their lives seeking justice for their daughter and never find it. The FBI found out that her phone had been tapped, but could never figure out who'd done it. And oddly enough, the witnesses who came forward to back up what Karen said, they didn't hang around too long.
Part of a wing is about the only thing recognizable. The plane crashed in a wheat field west of the airpark runway just minutes after 10 this morning.